set it so that it displays the color link based on the United stuff. Yeah. My daughter knows how to whatever color it lands on.
It was Corp and Logan one going to their farm.
I'm gonna miss them. It's gonna be hard, Lee.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Good. Yes.
Moving to California?
Yeah.
Maybe she was good.
That one.
Why would you pick that one?
It's natural.
It's natural, it's kind of contained up below.
I'm Maria Garcia, Executive Director for NeighborWorks Salt Lake. It's my privilege to be here to welcome you to the 9 line at the River District Gardens. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Doesn't that sound beautiful? The 9 line at the River District Gardens. That's so exciting. We have an exciting short schedule for you. There are a lot of people that have come together to make this event happen. You know, certainly the core of the work has been done by Salt Lake City, Union Pacific and UTA, and so many community groups that have come together. The University of Utah, the Westside Studio, all those students that are here. Thank you for all the work and all the research that you do in this community. And most importantly to me are the residents who have a voice and who make sure that they're heard. So thank you everyone for being here. We're going to hear from a couple people who are going to give you, we'll hear from Mr. DJ Baxter with the Redevelopment Agency, Dan Hardback with the Union Pacific Railroad. We appreciate that they've become a great partner to this community. We will hear from former Senator Fred Fife, a neighbor. I could throw a rock to his house. No rocks? No rocks, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Fred. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. Councilman Van Turner, and then the icing on the cake, you'll hear from Mayor Becker. So we have a lot of good events.
Hard from the beginning all the way through this is Fred Fife, who was in our state senate at the time. And we all owe him a big debt of gratitude. And Fred and I worked really hard together for a long time, and we're scratching our heads one day on how do we break through this one point in the negotiations. And he said, well, let's talk to the governor. And it turns out Governor Huntsman had a pre-existing relationship with the chairman of the railroad. And Rocky and I sat down and had lunch with Governor Huntsman. He was more than happy to help and make a couple of phone calls to talk about the situation. And that was a real pivotal point. And even though he's not our governor anymore, I wanted all of you to know that Governor Huntsman really played an important role.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Dan Hardback. I serve as Director of Public Affairs with Union Pacific Railroad. And I think DJ did a masterful job of explaining the history of this issue. And I might just share maybe more of a personal anecdote. I moved to the area, my wife and I moved here from Omaha, Nebraska, where Union Pacific is headquartered. We moved here about 4 years ago. And before we even bought a house here, it was literally my first trip here outside of a family vacation 20 years ago. My first trip here that, for those who remember, the Trains Off 9 South celebration at the Sorensen Center just up the street. And so that was my literally first time to Salt Lake City and first time getting engaged in this issue. So about 4 years ago, and you could talk about this has been an issue that's been much longer than that, maybe an issue decades in the making. But even in my view of the last 4 years of what's taken shape here, some might argue that it took a long time to do it. I might argue that it took a long time because the city and the partners that DJ's mentioned did it right.
It happened more than a decade ago when my wife, Ida Rose, who was on the steering committee, promoted the linear park idea for the Rails to Trails project on the 9 South corridor. And it became a part of the plan. Before that, some 4 decades ago, the Jordan River Parkway was planned. And that gave us a great dream of a parkway through our neighborhood. And Mayor Didi Corradini was instrumental in that carrying forward. She took interest in our dreams, and results followed. Our dreams have required great patience over the decades, but the results give our West Side communities a better standing with the city, and more importantly, a better quality of life.
It's great to be here. No matter what you want to use this trail for, whether you've got an old bike, whether you've got a new bike like the mayor, or whether you have skateboard or rollerblades, or just want to walk, you'll be able to go from this spot to Redwood Road. You'll be able to go from here to shopping. You'll be able to go in this direction under the freeway over to Target and over to the light rail station. This will be an important plus for our neighborhood.
I first actually became particularly acquainted with this project, as was mentioned, when I was in the legislature. And Fred and I were sitting almost next to each other up there, and a day would not go by when Fred Fife, then Representative Fred Fife, afterwards Senator Fred Fife, wouldn't say, "We've got to do something about this." And Fred mentioned patience, and obviously the community showed great patience with the problems associated with this line, and with getting through it. But the other part of it is persistence. And one thing I know about this community, and particularly the residents of the west side of Salt Lake City, is that you are a persistent group, and we are a persistent group. And that's a large part of what it takes. It takes people willing to come together, argue when we've got to argue, or disagree. Not that we would ever argue. But really recognize that in the end of the day, we get things done by coming together. And this line is a great example of people coming together.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.